Welcome to the playoff, Georgia Bulldogs. It's them and Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl. The Irish seeking 13 wins for the first time in program history, but they'll have to do something they've never done, which is beat Georgia. The Dogs are 3-0 all time, with that last meeting coming in 2019. But we are looking ahead here on this show, so let's welcome in Jordan Hill from Dogs 24/7 and Tim Priester from Irish Illustrated. And we're going to start with a headliner for Georgia. Gunnar Stockton is expected to start in this game. That will be a major part of this game for really both teams. The Irish game planning against how they will play him, and then the Dogs, of course, how this operates with him under center. So, Jordan, how does this Georgia offense have success with its backup quarterback?
It's going to be really interesting to watch, and especially when you look at Gunnar Stockton. He's a redshirt sophomore. The SEC title game against Texas, that second half, was really the most meaningful snaps he's played at Georgia. I mean, other than that, it's been basically mop-up duty against Group of 5 teams, and then the Orange Bowl last year once the Bulldogs got way out on Florida State. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Mike Bobo has catered this offense with rough 3 weeks to work with Gunnar Stockton, presumably as the quarterback. I feel really confident in game week that it is going to be Gunnar Stockton as the quarterback. He can move better than Carson Beck. I think that Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, will have worked really hard to make that a big piece of the offense. More RPOs, more play action plays, more rollouts. Gunnar's a really athletic quarterback, and I think that they are going to make it a really important part of the game plan to use his mobility and to try to really catch this Notre Dame defense off guard.
I think Notre Dame has been expecting it to be Gunnar Stockton, and that from that perspective, if Notre Dame has a weakness defensively, it's against the run. So if it were to be Carson Beck, Notre Dame is outstanding against the pass, so they would be prepared for that. But I think the entire look would be Gunnar Stockton. He does add a running dimension to things. The key for Notre Dame, they need a healthy Riley Mills to help assist up front along the defensive line. So they're looking at this, I think, pretty open-mindedly, but I think first and foremost, prepare for Gunnar Stockton and adjust from there, because Notre Dame's pass defense is pretty much ready for any top-notch passing game in the country.
Stockton already an SEC champion quarterback when he came out in that second half, but also a top 10 QB in the 2022 class. So he's got some skills there. Let's stick with the quarterback position. Speaking of skills, Riley Leonard really showing some nice balance running and passing the ball in their opening round games. So Tim, how much will that balance be an emphasis against a stout Georgia defense?
Yeah, I don't think that there wasn't the typical amount of balance with the run pass with him against Indiana, and I think that was done on purpose. I think they want to save some things in the running game for Georgia. If they had they needed to count on Riley Leonard's running ability, they would have done that more against Indiana. But I think they held some stuff back, and it's the key to his success. If there's any give in the Georgia defense, is probably on the back end, the ability to throw the football against them. Riley Leonard is not a prolific thrower of the football like Carson Beck, but he is outstanding running the football. So I think they saved some things a little bit for Georgia. I know that Georgia has seen what Riley Leonard can do running the football, but it's imperative that Riley Leonard is able to throw the football. Jeremiah Love, it's great to hand the football to Jeremiah Love and get a 98-yard run, but that's not going to happen on a regular basis, at least not against a team of this caliber. So Riley Leonard has to be balanced. If he is not, it's trouble for Notre Dame.
And I'm fascinated to see what Notre Dame's run game looks like against Georgia, because you go back to the SEC championship game for Georgia. I thought a huge key was that they shut down the Texas run game. I mean, they made Texas one-dimensional, and they said, all right, Quinn Ewers, you have no run game. And in addition to the way that Georgia rushed the passer, they said, Quinn, you're going to have to beat us. And Texas made some explosive plays through the air, but I thought it was the fact that Georgia just did not let those running backs get going. It was a huge reason Georgia was able to win that game when it was all said and done. So I want to see how this run defense plays against this Notre Dame team, if they can slow down a rushing attack that I thought was super impressive in that game against Indiana in the first round. So we're wanting to see how they play. We're expecting Christian Miller, a starting defensive tackle for Georgia, to be back. That's going to be huge as far as these efforts go in stopping the run. You do that, you put a lot of pressure on Riley Leonard. I think Riley Leonard's a really good quarterback, but let's see if Georgia's able to try to make Notre Dame one-dimensional and say that the passing game has to be the key to them winning.
Tim, wouldn't it be nice if you could get a 98-yard rushing touchdown every game? But that's why it was the first time that has happened in college football playoff history. We always like to see what EA College Football video game thinks, so we simulated this game, just a way to think about this game. But Georgia, they won it in the simulation. But I want to know what the keys to each team's victory is in the real football game. So Jordan, kick us off with the Dogs. What's the key to victory for them?
Well, looking at both sides of the offense, I mean, on both sides of the team, I would start on offense, and it's just really simple. I think they can't lose a turnover battle, not so much because you're giving away possessions, but again, we're talking about this is likely going to be Gunnar Stockton's first start as a college quarterback. I don't think you can have a game where he has turnovers, especially in the first half. You know, you're talking about a guy you want him to have confidence for 60 minutes of football, and like the SEC title game, it may take more than 60 minutes, so you want him to not be turning the ball over, to be playing clean football, to be trying to extend possessions and at least get points out of some of these possessions against a really good Notre Dame defense. And on the other side, I think that it's just, again, limiting this run game, trying to keep Notre Dame from creating explosive plays, whether it's on the ground or through the air. Texas was able to make some of those, and I thought that was huge in Texas getting points, but the Georgia defense was able to limit the damage, force field goals, things of that nature, stop the run game, limit the explosives in both phases of the game, and I think Georgia's going to be sitting pretty.
Yeah, from Notre Dame's perspective, it is stop the run. Don't let Gunnar Stockton hurt you with his legs. You know, this is an Al Golden defense, and all things being equal, I've heard people say, well, Carson Beck has been struggling. Georgia will be better off with Stockton. I don't believe that because he's an inexperienced quarterback, and he's going against Al Golden, who's one of the best in the business. So, so if it is Stockton, which again we expect, put him in third and long. Notre Dame put Indiana in third and long, especially early in the game when that game was really determined. So put him in those situations. Golden will give Stockton a ton of looks, and then turnover margin is huge because it hasn't been a significant advantage for Georgia, but Notre Dame is among the leaders in the country in turnover margin. So if you're playing against Gunnar Stockton, you're looking for a couple picks to lead Notre Dame to victory.
I think Georgia fans are just trying to manifest that, but that's a tough sell, is that Gunnar Stockton is better than Carson Beck, who could be a first-round quarterback. This is going to be such a fun game here in the quarterfinals. Thank you both so much for breaking it all down. You can check out more of their work at irishillustrated.com for all things Notre Dame, and then Dogs 24/7 for everything you need to know about Georgia.